This is part 6 of chapter 10, and this is the last part about classes in CPSC 150. In this set of slides, we will talk about module programming and how can we do module programming. But before we start talking about how can we do that in Python and see an example, let's talk about a little bit of module programming. What do we mean by module programming? Okay. Well, module programming, basically what we try to do is when you have a big program, to write a big program at once, sometimes it gets complicated. And so far we haven't seen these type of programs in 150, but we start to see a little bit of larger programs in chapter 10 once we start talking about classes, which is actually the step toward module programming. People who is going to take more programming classes, they will see that in the future. So it's very good to get introduced to these type of concepts when it comes to programming. So module programming is basically, it's the process of breaking a large program that you have into separate, smaller and manageable subtasks or modules. So instead of having your program to be one piece, as you see over here, a large piece, you can break it down into smaller pieces. And each one of these pieces is going to be separate files and implemented differently, separately than the others. Okay. Well, the good thing about this, why we need it, why do we need these type of programmings? It's pretty simple. It makes the big program that you're trying, or big application you're trying to develop, makes it so much simpler. Second, it's actually the maintainability for it. So if you want to try to maintain any one of these subprograms or subfiles or submodules, it will be much easier, and they are going to be independent from each other. So it's much easier than trying to fix a large program. The other thing also is the reusability. If you write a module, let's call this one M1, okay, and this module is like perform specific tasks that you need for your program 1, for example, okay. You might end up having another program, let's call it like program 2, that will use the same exact function, or that needs the same exact functions that are available in module number 1. So in this case, you don't have to rewrite it over here in program number 2. The only thing you need to do is basically to import it, just like we did in program number 1. And the scoping. So you will be focusing in specific thing in each module or each part of your application. And you will notice that, think about it this way. If you are building a big, large website, and part of the website, there's most of the time there's some type of online shopping. You will see usually like a cart over at the website. This cart, it has specific type of functions that is kind of known. You add the items to it, it gives you the subtotal, and it gives you the steps for the checkout. If you have this function designed and developed in a separate module, the only thing you have to do is every time you import a website, you just need to import this module. No matter what type of website, you can develop 10, 20, 30 websites. If they all have shopping carts that have some type of shopping, you just need to go ahead and import to your program that module that include that shopping cart. How can we achieve that in Python? Well, we use the import statement. We've seen it before, and we actually used it before when we imported different modules, such as the math module. But in this set of slides, we're going to talk about the modules that we develop ourselves, okay? So in this way, you can develop part of your program in a separate file, and we're going to see an example of that. And then in the main file, you can call or import that specific module that has the functions that are written and tested and kind of proved that they work fine into your module or into your program, and then it's going to make your program easier to write. Okay, so the way to do it is by using from and the import, and we're going to see an example, and we're going to see the syntax of that. Okay, so Here is the syntax of how can I import a different module into my program and use it in my program when the module is saved in a separate file. So it's very simple. We're going to say from, and then we're going to say the name of the file, okay, that we want to import the module from. And then we have to write the import. As you guys can see, the words in green, these are part of the code. Okay, and the file or some file, that's going to be the name of the file that you have your module in. And then we have a star over here. When we have the star, that basically we're saying import everything in that file. If the file has 3 different modules, 5 different modules, it doesn't matter. And when we talk about module, I wanted to think about it as, for example, a class that we developed. Okay, so it's going to be all of them imported to your file that or your program that you're working on, and you can use all of them. If you want to specify only specific class, you can basically say from and then the file name, and then you say import, and then you specify the class name. Okay, for example, if we have a file that has employee class, it has a car class, it has a book class, different classes, for example, in some file, you can specify which class you want to import. Okay, here's an example. Okay, so here's an example. Let's assume we have a class car, okay, and the car has different attributes. It has the model year, it has the purchase price, it has the current value, and then we have the default constructor or the init function. And it tells you that generated or initialized all the values to 0. Here's the definition. I can have a file, and I call the file, for example, car.py, short for Python, and then I will define my class as just the class by itself. I have the init function, and I declared it. We've seen before so many examples. We have another function or another method that will do the calculating the current value of the car. Okay, and there's some calculation that's based on the requirements that you are asked to use. And then we have another method for the printing the information, or the string, the magic method, which is __ string __. Okay, that could be saved in one file. In the other, okay, the previous file had only the module that we have or we need in our application. And this is a separate file. This is a different file. Take a look over here. This file name is car_main. Okay, and this file is gonna contain the main part of our program. Okay, and it's gonna use the car class, but it's not gonna be written here in this file. It's not gonna be implemented here. It's gonna be imported into this file. And how can I do that? At the beginning of my file or my car_main, I'm gonna tell Python to import the class car. The way to do it is to say from, and then you specify the file name. If you remember previous slide, the file name was car.py. Car was all lowercase. That's the name of the file, okay? And then from this file, import car with the capital C. That is for the class car that we defined and implemented in the car file, okay? So I'm telling Python, import that class. Go to that file, which is car, which is this one, and import this class. So this file right now, car main, is you can use the class car as if it was already implemented in this file. Okay, so here you see this is the main part of my program. What I did, I created some variables. I asked the user for some information. Then I created an object from the car. It's not here. You don't see it in this file, but it was imported. Okay, I imported it. And then I set the attributes to the values that I get from the user. Then I print it. This is just a small example to show you how can I have the big program broken down into different modules.